Hi there everyone, my name is Claire and I'm the Crochet Lady. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my income for the last 3 months on Etsy, and this is something that's going to be very transparent. I'm going to break everything down for you, and the reason why I wanted to do this was because when I was doing research to initiate or begin the process of starting my own crochet business, these types of videos were very helpful for me to see if it was actually feasible to get an income from selling crochet patterns and finished items. So I really want to share that with you guys, and especially from the beginning, right, like my first 3 months ever on Etsy. I want to share that with you because it can gain some perspective. There are quite a lot of videos out there on people sharing what they earn, but they've been in the crochet business for 2-3 years now, and that is not really a clear reflection for someone who is starting out right from the beginning. So I'm going to share that with you. If you like these types of videos, then go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Let's jump into my earnings for the first 3 months on Etsy. So in January, I released my first real big pattern, and that was for the Cupcake Cuties. I released that at the end of January, and most of my sales in January were mainly from that. And for the next 3 months, most of my sales were from that one single pattern, because that is where most of my income came. I only had that one pattern. I am releasing another pattern in the next 2 days, so I'm really excited about that. But so far, just for transparency, this is the sales for the one single pattern for the Cupcake Cutie. In January, I sold 64 items, which came to a total of 290 euros and 86 cents. Now, that is not exactly what I put into my pocket, so I do want to break down the fees and the costs involved and how much I actually got paid into my bank account, because the 290 is what I earned for those patterns, but with the fees that actually drops down quite a lot. So the first fee that you will incur is sales tax that Etsy charges the client or the customer who's purchasing the item, as well as VAT. They charge that to the person who is buying the pattern. So on top of what you've actually listed your price on your listing, Etsy will charge this above that price. So I will put the figures up here on what those fees were for January. The next thing that actually eats away at the money that you're earning on Etsy is the Etsy fees. Now, the first thing is the listing fee. There is a big misconception that you only have to pay a 20 cents listing fee once you actually list that item. But if you are selling multiples of that item, so for example, a digital product like a crochet pattern, Etsy is going to be charging you 20 cents per item or per thing that is sold. So if you are selling 64 patterns, they're going to charge you 20 cents times 64. So that is what happened to me. I have a fee of 11 euros and 70 cents, and I can see why so many people get frustrated by this. Maybe there are some loopholes that people can jump through to avoid this, but as a beginner crocheter, this is how I had set things up, and this is why I have the Etsy listing fees. So the next fee that Etsy will charge you is the transaction fee. Now, this is the cut that Etsy takes on top of your items that you're selling or your patterns that you're selling. This is Etsy's cut, and it is set at a certain percentage depending on your country and what you have your settings set as. So for me, I have a 6.5% transaction fee, which is charged on the items that I sell or the patterns that I sell. And this came to a total of 17 euros and 61 cents for the month of January. The next fee that I had incurred was processing fees. Now, I use Etsy Payments, which is a trusted platform to use when you are selling on Etsy. So basically it means that Etsy is handling the payments and the financial back end of how you are getting your money and how that card is processed when the client or the customer is putting their card details to make the purchase. Now, you don't have to use Etsy Payments. You can request that the customers who are buying your items and your patterns, they use a third-party payments processor such as PayPal, anything like that. However, PayPal will also have their own processing fees for each transaction that comes through. So you have to sit down and kind of think, well, what is the lesser of the evils? And I just think for the ease of using Etsy in my business right now, it's easy to use Etsy payments. And I also think people who are used to buying items and patterns on Etsy also trust the Etsy payment system, so they are more likely to actually use that versus having to log into their PayPal and then make the payment that way. But the lesser of the evils for me is going to be Etsy payments for now. And the total of the processing fees for them to handle the financials is €30.94, which is quite a big chunk out of all the fees. That is the highest fee, which is the processing fee of the actual transaction when it comes to processing the customer's card and them getting the money on their end. The fourth fee that I incurred for the month of January was VAT. This is going to change depending on what country you are in and what the tax laws are, even in your states. And this does change from person to person. For me, the VAT on the seller's fees is €14.99 for the month of January. The last fee that I incurred in the month of January was marketing. Now, you don't have to do this, but I did opt in for Etsy ads on my new Cupcake Cutie pattern, and this is something that you can set to, you want to spend €1 a day or €5 or $5 a day. You can really play around with the amount of money you want to spend per day on Etsy ads, and then Etsy will place your ads throughout the actual Etsy platform and website. So people who are more likely to buy crochet patterns, they will put that ad in front of them, and then it's up to the customer or the buyer to click on that and purchase the item or the pattern. So I had a total of €9.24. I think when I listed the actual pattern, the Cupcake Cutie crochet pattern, I opted in for only spending €1 a day on Etsy ads just to kind of test out the waters. So in total, with the fees that I've all just mentioned, the actual total that I got into my bank account for the month of January was €186.61. Now, as you can see, that is a huge difference from what I had originally earned. So when I made the 64 sales, the actual earnings that I earned was €290.86. And then after all the fees and the marketing and the transactions, the actual total that I get in the end was a lot lower. So keep that in mind when you are selling patterns. What you're going to actually get into your bank account is a little bit different. Then for the month of February, I didn't actually launch any new patterns, so all of the money that I made in February was just a continuation of people buying my Cupcake Cutie pattern, which was really awesome. I wasn't expecting there to be just a constant flow of people buying the pattern, even if I wasn't necessarily actively marketing myself through social media and through my other marketing channels. So the amount of sales that I made in February was 47, and again, a lot of that was from the Cupcake Cutie crochet pattern, and the total for that month for those sales was €259.28. Now, as you can see, that's very similar to what I had earned in January, but the patterns or the amounts of items that I sold were more in January. The difference is when I sold the 64 patterns in January, it was at a 20% discount as a launch celebration. I put the pattern at a little bit of a lower price and discounted it for the launch. So it is around about the same amount that I made in February, but I sold fewer patterns at a higher price, or at the original price that it is actually listed at. And then I had the VAT and the sales tax going off of that, which brought the actual sales total to €243.42. Now let's get into the fees, because the fees were again pretty high, as they always are. So the listing fees were €9.22. The transaction fees, which is Etsy's cut, is €15.83. The processing fees, again, is pretty high at €24.54. And the VAT that I am paying is €16.86. And then something that's a little bit different this month than it was to February was I have the Save and Share refund, which is when someone buys a item that you have linked with a very special link. If you go into Etsy, you get your Save and Share link, and if someone clicks on that link and purchases the item, they actually give you back the transaction fee on that. So I made a few sales then on that, probably 2 sales, and then they refund the transaction fee for that. And then on top of all of that, I also spent a much larger amount of money on marketing because I wasn't really marketing the pattern myself on social media as much in February. I opted in for a higher daily spend on Etsy ads. So in total, my Etsy ads came to €30.53. And I will say right now, I don't think it was worth it at all. Going off of my sales in March, which I'll get into, I decided to opt out of Etsy ads going forward because the amount of money that I spent on Etsy ads and the sales that I made from that ad, it didn't cover the cost of those ads. So I was spending more than people were buying the pattern. And there are quite a few people who may argue that that comes down to the SEO or the actual written description of your pattern. Etsy puts your ad out there, and then if people click on it and view it and don't purchase it, it's probably something wrong with your listing in the sense of the quality of images or the description. Maybe it's not actually what people are looking for. And then they say, well, that's on you because you need to improve your listing. And I understand that. I completely get that. But right now, I don't have any more time to spend on improving listings, especially because I probably will move away from Etsy later on. And I decided to shut my ads off after February just because I spent so much on Etsy ads and I didn't really get that much in return for that. But the Etsy ads were quite expensive for February just because of that fact. That being said, the money that I actually got into my bank account for the month of February was €148.94. So there's quite a big difference there. I originally made, with my 47 sales, I made €259.28. And I only got into my bank account €148.94. So as you can see, it's quite different for this month, but I do blame a big chunk of that on Etsy ads. And then for my third month, which is March, I actually had quite a lot of things go in my favor, and it was a really awesome month. And as of filming this, it is the 27th of March. In 2 days, I have a new pattern releasing on my Etsy, so I am probably going to have to revise March as a whole, but I did want to do this video before I launch the pattern to kind of give you a more realistic view, because what happened in March is one of my reels on Instagram did really well. It got over 100,000 views, and it was for the mini version of the Cupcake Cutie, which I shared as a free pattern. So a lot of people went to my link, downloaded my free pattern, and obviously in that process and in my marketing, I encouraged them to go and view the full version of the pattern, which is the larger version, on Etsy. And a lot of people then purchased, they liked the mini Cupcake Cutie so much that they actually purchased the larger one too. So in the month of March, I made 74 sales, and I didn't really do much marketing other than promoting the free version of the mini Cupcake Cutie, and I'm really happy with that because it does show the power of having an audience on social media platforms, because the amount of money that I made on the one reel that I did far outweighs the amount of money that I actually spent on Etsy ads and the money that I got in from Etsy ads. So with the 74 sales that I made, the amount came to €396.33, which was my best month by far, and that will change obviously when I launch my new pattern in 2 days. And the sales tax and the VAT I will put in on the screen. And then for the fees, I have the listing fees at €13.35 that was charged. The transaction fee, €24.59, and that's Etsy's cut. Processing fees is €38.19. The VAT on my fees is €17.94. And then I did share the share and save refund link that I have, which is the €1.41 that I got back. And then for marketing, I think in the beginning of March for a few days, I still had it set at €1 a day. So I have €9.06 fee for Etsy marketing. So in total, so far for the month of March, I made 64 sales, which came to €396.33. And what I've gotten into my bank account so far is €276.41. So I did a much better month this month by not using Etsy ads and rather really promoting and growing my audience on Instagram and TikTok. And this really helped in that regard. So with having a look at the amount of money that you get in with your sales versus what's actually paid to your bank account is very different, and I hope that you can take this as an example of how you can move your own crochet business moving forward. I am definitely taking a very hard look at what I want my business to be like in the future, and possibly in the summer I will be moving away from Etsy ads onto my own website. I'm not too sure what that looks like right now. Etsy is still a very convenient option because people trust the platform when buying patterns. It's really simple to get the transaction or the person to put their card details in and purchase the pattern. It's a good way to get the pattern to them because Etsy will send them the direct download link to download it. So the pattern selling process on Etsy is very seamless, and I literally make money in my sleep. I wake up with Etsy notifications that people have bought my pattern, and it has already been sent to them by Etsy, or the download link has been sent to them. And this is really awesome. It's a very convenient way, and I see why people do use Etsy so much in their business. However, I think if you are really wanting to grow your business and your brand as a crocheter to bigger and greater heights, then Etsy might not be a great platform in the long term. There are very gray areas as to what they're charging you, and this can change at any moment. They have the power in their hands to change what they charge you when they charge you, and I definitely don't like that. Whether you're spending money on actually hosting your own website and having a third-party payment processor and e-commerce layouts such as Shopify and WooCommerce, either way you're going to pay. The difference is if I am hosting my own website and I am in control of what third-party platforms I want to use for my payment processing and for my e-commerce service, I feel a lot better that I have control over that, because at the moment Etsy is in control of everything, and there are many gray areas and things that can change a lot. So I would rather still probably get the same amount of money out every month, but have a bit more control over what I can do with my business and how I show up for my customers, for my buyers who are buying my patterns. So I definitely want to investigate what it would look like in my business moving forward if I had my own platform and my own website to sell my patterns on. And this is for another video, definitely, because there are many things that you want to take into consideration when you're building a business where you need to create your own brand and your own presence online and how you want to show up for your people. That's a whole different video. But what I want to share in this video was a very transparent reflection of what it is like starting out as a crocheter and how you can take what I have told you in this video into account when you are starting your own crochet business. So I hope this was really helpful. Go ahead and leave me some comments down below of what you have been doing in your business to be successful on Etsy. I'm always looking for tips and tricks, but again, maybe if you are someone who has moved away from Etsy already and you have already started your own website, what was that process like for you, and what advice do you have for me? I will be very grateful if you can give me some tips and tricks. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like it, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe. Your support means the world to me, and I'm so happy to be a part of it in this crochet community with you. And I will see you in the next video.